Hey, all my fantasy football friends out there. Welcome to the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel with your boy, Tony Stoll, Stash X, and my little kitty cat you see in the background. This is Zoe right here. Everyone say hi. There you go. That's the little tail that walks in front of my camera every time I'm speaking is this one right here. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. We're going to be breaking down the rookie wide receivers, the incoming 23 class of wide receivers here pre-draft. We did the top tier, the tier 1, 2s, and 3s, the top 9 guys in our previous video. Go ahead and check that out. There'll be a link to that in the comment section below. And today we're going to do the kind of the middle section, the more dart throwy guys, but we're going to be talking about all the wide receivers coming out. A little bit of news happened a couple hours ago. This just came out. I just seen a news report, and this really annoyed me. So as we know, the rights to streaming NFL games, to broadcasting NFL games over the networks, DirecTV lost their contract, and YouTube bought that. So you're going to see all of the NFL games are going to be available through YouTube TV now, as opposed to what was previously DirecTV for the last 15 years or 17 years, whatever it was. I was really looking forward to this ending of the DirecTV contract. I was stoked about that for the 23 season. I was like, man, some great service is going to pick this up. We're going to be able to see our games for cheaper. It's going to be more readily available. And that is not the case. I don't know what I was drinking to think that ever, anytime, any prices in this country would ever go down ever. But YouTube TV is going to be charging you $359 to stream your NFL package, $389 in order to get the Red Zone package. That's just for one season of out-of-market football games. It's going to cost you $350 on top of your already $60 a month YouTube TV subscription. So you're talking about over $400 a month if you want to watch NFL games out of market for the upcoming season. And I just think that is the most egregious, untenable thing, and I will be happily putting on my eye patch and pirate hat and hitting the open waters to watch the NFL games as I do every year. So that's what I'm here to complain about today. How are you feeling about that, Mr. Greg?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I have had so I live in Texas and I'm a Denver Bronco fan, so I've had the DirecTV for many, many years.
Yep.
And I don't have any live streaming TV. I'm a stream only person. So and then I've got I've got an over the air antenna, right? So I get I get the blackout games through the over the air antenna, and we got the DirecTV the DirecTV streaming only, the Sunday ticket streaming only package, which was not too bad for the last couple of years. I don't know if 350 is going to happen. Like, we may be looking at some of the other options for Red Zone channel only.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. It stinks. That's what they're doing, man.
Yeah, we may be looking we may be looking that way. So I don't know. It is a lot. It is a lot for the season that ends up being like because the only thing I watch is I don't watch the other out of market games. I watch the Red Zone channel unless my team is on.
Yeah.
So you're 16 games a year. You're talking about $20 a game. It's like a movie ticket every game.
Yeah.
What if they're bad through 3 weeks? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not fun paying that price for a bad team.
Yeah, and I get to watch the Browns games, and that's okay, but sometimes they're just bad, and I don't want to watch them. And I love the teams like the 49ers and the Packers and the Chargers. I want to watch those West Coast games so badly as an East Coaster, and it's just it's so annoying that I have to pay so much money to be able to do that.
I don't mind going to Red Zone though. You can get a lot of good.
Yeah, certainly.
When I'm not watching my team, I usually prefer Red Zone, and so I'm gonna probably be okay. I mean, if I were in your shoes, there would be no way I would consider it if I were if my home team were streaming over the air for free. On my local TV.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like if the team I rooted for were free, there's no way I'm paying $350 for the out of market games when I'm probably going to spend most of my time on Red Zone, and you can get Red Zone channel for a lot less on a lot of services, I believe.
Yeah, and the NFL is going to offer its own Red Zone channel streaming as a separate thing that you can get for like I think 50 or something like that.
I think that's where a lot of people are going
Yeah,
to go.
that's probably where they will go. But it's just annoying, and I wanted to complain about that. So if you guys were wondering what developed with your TV streaming rights, it's in those. That's the pricing. Look it up. It just broke a couple hours ago as of this recording. But let's get in there and talk about some real fantasy football stuff. That's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
Greg's got a trade. Greg got a trade. He you made a trade, or you got one pending, or
I
what's
made a
up?
trade.
You made a trade
this morning.
All right.
Just an hour and a half ago. I sent Trey Lance, Deontay Johnson, and the 211 for Tua Tagovailoa. I have not bought a Tua share in a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yep.
With the head stuff, but I'm sort of coming back to like, they picked up the 5th-year option, right? I'm not a head doctor. They say he's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know where shouldn't he at his age be above Dak? And wouldn't you give that for Dak?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with all of that. And I feel like that was a decent price to get out of the Trey Lance risk pool. What do you think?
I don't mind that trade. I've never been much of a Tua guy. I don't own any shares of Tua across all my leagues. That's a fair price to pay to go get him. Yeah, 211 is like that's nothing big. Deontay plus Lance, who might not get any snaps at all. Who knows what's up with Lance? In order to get into a really safe starting option, I don't know about really safe, but should he be on the field, he should be quite productive for fantasy. Tua and yeah, I don't read too much into the head injury stuff personally. I've heard that narrative regularly. I think he's going to be fine, but again, I'm not a doctor either, so who knows?
There you go.
I don't mind that trade. I got a trade here I was looking at. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Yo, this is in this Louisiana sports league, so I could get Bijan Robinson if I want. I have an offer from someone. They're offering me the 101 pick. I could add Bijan to this roster if I send Kenny Pickett and the 103 rookie away. So give up Kenny Pickett in order to move from the 103 in your rookie draft to the 101 slot. How do you feel about that? In a vacuum, would you pay that to get Bijan?
In a vacuum, I'm paying that. There's some construction stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
If you were in a position where you said my quarterbacks are a disaster and I need to sell 101, like I can't go drafting a running back 101 because I am uncompetitive.
Yep.
Then I don't think that's a terrible price to move down to 103, and then you get like like if things go right, you get like Bryce Young. Or Anthony Richardson, you get a choice there,
two
right?
Quarterback options that are starters,
and you get like a quarterback 2 in Kenny Pickett. So I don't hate the other side of that, if that's the right thing for your construction. And I haven't looked at, or I don't know that we want to go deeply into your construction, but I think in a vacuum, the 101 is probably worth more.
Yeah, I sent a trade. I sent the 103 out in an offer already. I'm trying to send the 103 away with Dak to get Herbert. But if this doesn't hit, I'm probably going to accept this and bring in Robinson. Yeah, so that's something there I wanted to bring to our listeners. But let's talk about these receivers. We got the 2023 rookie wide receiver class coming out. Like I said, we already broke down the top 9 guys on our previous show. But today we're going to be talking about that middle tier receivers. These guys right here. So the way you read this is left to right is how we have them ranked, and then they're kind of in rows based on tiers. So tier 4 here is going to be Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver from LSU, 6 foot. Or 5'11" at the combine, 195 pounds. Kayshon Boutte was a really highly touted prospect entering the 2022 college football season, and just bottom fell out on him. What happened to Kayshon Boutte?
So, let's take a little walk down Narrative Street with Kayshon Boutte. So he was supposed to be contending for the top receiver in this class as of 12 months ago. You can find really good analysts who had him as the wide receiver 1 12 months ago, right? And then he went out and was pretty terrible. It was pretty terrible as a junior. had some ankle injuries, so like wasn't healthy, had some falling out with the coaching staff. There may have been some off-field stuff. We're not totally sure. Um, I I think, by the way, I think NFL teams will have a better idea what happened because
Yeah.
some of it was not all just on-field badness. It was like stuff leading to on-field unproductivity, right? Like it's not clear if his head was totally in it or if they were freezing him out of routes or like using him less. I don't know. I don't know at all. Or if he wasn't healthy. Like there was some ankle injury stuff. Was he playing hurt? But this is a guy who, as a true freshman at LSU in the SEC, had 45 catches for 735 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 16.3 per reception. That is a full-on true freshman breakout at a top SEC program. Like that's just going to get all of the attention immediately.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then it was. And then it was just worse than that, right? As a sophomore, it was 38 catches for 509, but in only 6 games, right? So that's actually better production per game. And so there's the ankle injury. But then, as a junior, the per game and per catch and per snap numbers go through the floor.
Yeah, they fall out hard.
And you don't. And then he goes to the combine and he's an inch shorter and 10 pounds lighter than you expect, and he runs a half a tenth slower than you expect. But he ran a 4.5. His other run was 4.67. Right? Like they run twice. We usually only say the first one because the second one's usually like 300ths off that or whatever. Yeah. Right? But this was almost 0.2 off, right? So, I don't know what. And then he didn't run his pro day, despite the fact that he, So it's just all weird and bad, and nobody really knows.
Well, nobody knows what the truth is with this guy, and I don't think even an NFL team is going to know either. He's probably going to fall, what, third, fourth round?
I don't know. Let me say one other thing. Yeah. As those huge true freshman stats included a game where he went 14 for 308 and 3 touchdowns.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the rest of his stats, the other 9 games were 31 for 427 and 2 touchdowns. Right?
It's not that good. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, 308 in a single game is the SEC record. Mm-hmm. He set that as a true freshman.
So it might be this guy just had one incredible, insane game as a true freshman, and nothing else he's done in his career has been to that same caliber. I mean, that could be what we're looking at.
It could be.
Yeah.
Right. So, so pros, like, look, all the elite freshman breakout production. It's like analytics all love it, and there's some stuff on tape. So this is a run after catch monster. He is not, and he does not look super fast being a run after catch monster. That's one of those guys who uses angles the right way, and just sort of knows how to run to space.
Yeah.
He has a few concentration drops, but he makes great plays with his hands. He has late hands, by which we mean like he brings his hands up very late to keep defenders from playing the hands, and he runs very smooth routes. The cons are, when he was good, he got a lot of manufactured touches. The testing was terrible. And here's the last thing about the narrative. There is some reporting that he initially announced that he was going to go back to school, and then he declared. Mm. And there's some behind-the-scenes stuff that says that maybe LSU encouraged him to declare.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Which that would be like a real red flag for me.
That's bad. If the college is telling him, hey, get out of here because you're going to be worse next year.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of Robert Woods in Keishon Butte, but I think I think
I don't even know if he has that kind of ceiling to get to Robert Woods level. Woods was pretty good for fantasy for a few years.
Yeah, I think Michael Gallup is another decent comp.
Yeah.
Like, he's got some things that I really like about him. I think I'm going to follow the draft capital. If he gets high draft capital, I will be below average. If he gets low draft capital, I will be above average. Because I think this is a huge ceiling dart. That's why I have him at 10. Is there's still a chance this guy is great.
Yep.
So that's where I am.
Yeah, that's Keishon Boutte. You're going to have to make your own decisions, like every one of these guys. But, next guy up is Mr. Trey Palmer, senior wide receiver from Nebraska. 6 foot, 192 pounds, really good speed. What do you like about Trey Palmer?
Interesting guy. So, senior from Nebraska, he's an LSU transfer. He played 3 years at LSU and had a total line of 41 catches, 458 yards, 3 touchdowns, 11.2 per reception. In 1 year he was their primary return man, and they used him on like end around stuff, and they did a lot of that stuff. And he just said, "Hey guys, I am a primary outside wide receiver." They weren't going to use him that way. He put himself in the transfer portal. He went to Nebraska, and in 1 year at Nebraska, which is not like like some pass-heavy offense, he went 71 catches, 1,043 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 14.7.
It's a really good
so
season.
What he did was he said, "Hey, this is who I am. Let me show you," and then he backed it up.
Yeah.
And you have to like that.
Mm-hmm.
Killer speed. He ran a 10.42 100-meter in high school. He was a 5-star recruit to LSU, was a core special teamer for LSU, but didn't make it in the offense. And he is a huge rack guy. You see, we have very few of these big contested catch downfield guys. The guys who are making their money a lot. We have a lot of rack guys in this class.
Yep.
And he's not huge either, right? 6 foot 192, although the size is decent for this class. The cons here, he is not very physical, even 6 foot 192, and he plays like he's sub 200.
Yep.
Incomplete route tree for an older player, and most of his success came. He played slot in three wide receiver sets. He was the lead receiver. He was on the field in 2 wide receiver sets, but they did give him a lot of slot work. And almost all of his work at LSU was in the slot. The ceiling, to me, he compares a lot to Terry McLaurin, and the median outcome is like Marquise Goodwin. Like, this is a take the top off guy. But if somebody likes him and gives him 3rd-round draft capital, that Terry McLaurin comp feels real good. Terry McLaurin was always the wide receiver. He never won the starting job at Ohio State, and then got 3rd-round draft capital. And his first time starting since high school was in the NFL.
Yep.
And there's some of that.
So interesting. Yeah. I like him, man. I just want to preface, I don't really know. I'm not super plugged in. I haven't watched a lot of film on the rest of these guys we're going to talk about, so we're going to be relying on Greg a good bit. But just the case you're making for Palmer, it definitely seems like at the cost you're going to be looking at for your rookie draft, I'm in. I like that upside and that production profile, those comps for what will probably be like a mid 3rd round rookie pick that you could spend on him. Yeah. That's. You don't always love receivers in that territory. I more advocate for running backs, but usually. This is a guy I'd be willing to take a shot on.
And let me also say, he could be an elite returner if you have one of those leagues that gives you a point for every 25 or 50 return yards or whatever.
Yep.
So, notice that guy. All right, the next guy up. This is the biggest riser for me in my process by far. It's Bryce Ford Wheaton, redshirt senior out of West Virginia. So he was one of the last guys I got to in my scouting process, and I fully expected him to be a tier 7 guy, and here he is in the first half of tier 4. This is redshirt senior from West Virginia, 6'4", 221 pounds, ran a 4.38 40 at the combine.
That's really good speed for that size. That's insane. Yeah.
Killed the jumps. Yes. His RAS, his relative athletic score, was the 11th best RAS at wide receiver since 1987.
Yeah, that's insane.
1987. Out of 3,000 guys at the combine.
Yeah.
Right. This is a super elite testing profile, and getting no buzz. And so I assume super elite testing profile with no buzz, the tape must be terrible.
Yeah, that's what that would
This is
imply.
what
Yeah.
this is why I'm getting to him so late in the process. He was one of the very last people I turned on the tape from. His best year was as a senior, 62 catches for 675, 7 touchdowns, and 10.9 per reception.
It's pretty ho hum. Yeah.
The yards per reception declined every season, which was interesting, although the receptions went up. And I kind of loved the tape, just loved it. Or I don't want to oversell this. If I loved the tape, he'd be
in that tier 3 area. Yeah.
He'd be up with Rashee Rice, right? But
Yeah.
like, I loved the best half of the tape.
Okay.
Right? Like there's some bad plays in every game. But every game has some plays where he just shows how big he is. He's the freakiest size speed athlete in the class or in many classes. He uses his size to shield his catch area on slant routes and dig routes. He's really good at that. He uses his size to get off press. He has long speed to capitalize. He doesn't get much separation. Like, you don't see the long speed before the catch. You do see it sometimes on wide receiver screens. He runs a lot of wide receiver screens, which is why his yards per reception is so low. And he doesn't get a lot out of them except when he hits a home run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Except when, like, and then once he gets through, he's gone.
Crease, he's gone. Yeah.
He's just gone, right? But he's also a really effective jump ball receiver, both down the sideline and in the corner of the end zone. This is one of the things that is just so obvious about him is he's going to bully people on both jump balls in the corner and the back shoulder stuff at the front pylon. And he's really good at adjusting to both of those. And he makes contested catches, and he just uses the body to be too physical for the guy on him. And then he, catches the ball and stands over their body and woofs at them. He's got that dog in him,
Yeah.
The blocking technique is terrible, but you can clean that up, and he hits hard in blocking, right? He's a big guy. And hey, he wore number 0 in college, so he's going to have an easy transition with them legalizing the number 0 in the NFL now, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Slide right in. Look, the cons, he has all of this physicality, and he was kind of unproductive. He's got a lot of bad drops. He's got a couple where the ball hits his hands and it turns into a tip interception. He's not very quick for an explosive athlete, right? He doesn't have a lot of short area quickness. That's not his game. I think the big is better than the fast, although he does have the long speed.
Yep.
And the jumps, right? So he's very athletic in that way, explosive, but not quick. And raw does not run like great routes. But the ceiling here is Martavis Bryant without the character issues. Like, it's everything in some ways. Like, I don't know that there's the median is he doesn't work out. I think there's a lot of busts in this guy.
Yeah.
But
he sounds to me like Mac Hollins. I mean, is that fair to say? Like someone who, and I mean that both in the size, the profile, and everything, but also might be a guy who like does nothing for like 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden has some tremendous breakouts.
I kind of think somebody's going to fall in love with him and give him day 2 capital.
Yeah, it's hard when you talk about his size, score, like all those intangibles that he brings to the table.
I think somebody's going to fall in love. He's going to end up with day 2 draft capital. We're all going to be rising on him.
It's the new Nico Collins. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, he's such a better athlete than Nico.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, and I think there's a way to use. Like, I think he's going to be used in the red zone immediately.
Sure.
So in that way, I don't see him like Mac Hollins. I think he's just. I think he's going to get in. He has a chance to be immediately useful for fantasy, even if he's not like a high volume guy. That I got real excited about him. I liked a lot of what I saw. I have a feeling I'm going to be having a lot of shares.
Yeah, I'm interested. This guy, Yeah, I'm pretty interested in the size speed relative to cost. I'm there with him. The next guy up is Jaden Reed, senior from Michigan State, Western Michigan transfer. Jaden Reed, 5'11", 187 pounds, ran a 4.45 40-yard dash. Now, what's up with Jaden Reed?
Yeah, so I mean, this is another one of those big small guys, right? 5'11", 187, right?
Yep.
Certainly enough size to play outside, although he's obviously not a big receiver. Um, this is a guy who was a freshman breakout at Western Michigan, 56 for 797 and 8 touchdowns as a true freshman. That's great. And then he transferred out. Actually, Sky Moore took that job after he transferred out, right?
Yeah.
So Western Michigan, he was the wide receiver 1, and his wide receiver 2 was Dwayne Eskridge, who went in the second round to Seattle a couple years the next year.
Yeah.
And then Sky Moore came in and replaced him. He transfers over to Michigan State. So he was playing over, even though at a small school, he was playing over some second round draft capital guys, right? And his biggest senior was as a junior, 59 catches, 1,026 yards, 10 touchdowns, 17.4 per reception, slightly down as a senior. This is a very quick guy. Good rack again, runs powerfully for his size. He's a smart player who wins situationally. He gets to the sticks and gets open and moves the chains. He has a good route tree. He does some gadget play stuff, end around passes, throwing the ball off the end around. So he's got all of that in his bag. And true freshman breakouts who sustain hit at a high rate. So there are some real analytical things to like about this guy. And he's kind of slipping in rookie drafts. So this is a guy you might be able to get in the 4th round of a rookie draft who has a real shot to hit. For me, the ceiling outcome is Deontay Johnson, and the median outcome is D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah, so, D.D. had 1 or 2 decent seasons. So, yeah.
You can kind of see the kind of player we're looking at there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yep. Possession guy, rack guy. Yep. Underneath guy. Yep. With big high volume upside potentially.
Yeah, and look at the landing spot. Look at the draft capital. Wouldn't shock me to see him go into that high 3rd round, maybe. Like, oh, we got a little surprised he was around higher, and all of a sudden he's a riser in your rookie drafts, maybe.
All right, next up is a player I've really enjoyed following since the beginning of this process that Greg turned me on to a couple months ago. Mr. Andre Yoshivas. Andre Yoshivas, a senior from Princeton, the track and field extraordinaire, 6'3", 205 pounds. He ran a 4.43 40. Talk to me about Andre.
Yeah, so if Rice Ford Wheaton was the 11th best RAS since 1987, Andre Yoshivas was the 14th best RAS since 1987. This is out of 3,000 guys. This is
oh, he's from Hawaii. I didn't know that.
This is a class with some real freaky athletes. There's another guy who had a top 50 RAS all time, and we'll get to a little bit later. So Yoshivas is just a junior breakout. Princeton, so he had a junior breakout, didn't do much as a freshman. Princeton didn't play in the COVID year, at his sophomore year, right? So junior breakout, but he didn't play. There was no season as a sophomore, right? Dominant market share. This is one of the highest market share guys in terms of percentage of his teams. He was up near 40% of his team's receiving yards. Elite athlete, all-American heptathlete, track athlete.
Heptathlete. Right? What is that? 12 event?
I think it's 7. I believe
7.
it's
hepta. Yeah.
Sprint. It's like 100 hurdles.
Yeah.
400, and then like high jump, long jump, javelin, shot put, or something like that. Right?
Really?
So,
okay. Yeah.
So jumps, throws, runs, right? And I think he finished 4th at NCAA nationals. Right. So this is like a guy who, when you do all the athletic things, the strong, the jump, the fast, he does all of those things together.
Yeah.
At an elite level. He high points the ball. He has plus hands. He has good rack skill, although it's super hard to know what his rack skills are in Ivy League tape, right?
Yeah, because
You
those
look at
guys can't tackle. Yeah.
you look at the Harvard Princeton game, and it's really obvious that he's the best athlete on the field,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's like, what do you do with this, right? He had a good Senior Bowl, but it's hard to extrapolate a whole career on just that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He has another obvious end zone skill set with the fade and the back shoulder and the jumping in the hands. Very Bryce Ford Wheaton. The level of competition to me is the difference between he and Bryce Ford Wheaton is like, you just don't know at all. He's kind of unrefined. He does have some occasional body catching issues.
Mhm.
The ceiling comp here for me is Christian Watson.
That's who I was thinking too. Yep.
It's just I really, really like that comp a lot. And then DJ Chark pops for me a little bit too.
Mhm.
The median comp for a guy at this level of competition is that he doesn't make it at all. But I think ceiling is very high, very, very high. So this is a guy I really like in this. I want to throw darts at both of these two huge athletes because I wouldn't surprise me if one of them had ended up being a top 3 receiver in this class.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, Yoshivas, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and even the next guy we're about to talk about are all really, they have the size that those dudes in the top tiers that we talked about were really lacking. It's just none of these dudes can run those same routes or have those production profiles against high quality competition. So that's something that's gonna, be an element to your rookie draft is which receivers are you willing to take your shots on. So next guy up here is A.T. Perry. He's a redshirt senior from Wake Forest, 6'3", 198 pounds. 4.47 40-yard dash speed.
Yeah, so A.T. Perry, I mean, similar height, a little bit lighter and a little bit slower than the other two big guys, but played at a high level of competition and much more productive, or played at a much higher level of competition than Yoshivas and much more productive than Ford Wheaton, right? So kind of put a lot of things together, although not the physical freak. Junior year breakout, 71 catches for 1,293 yards and 15 touchdowns, 18.2 per.
That's good. We like that.
Yep. 81 for 1,096 as a senior. So you see the yards per goes way down. 10 more catches. 10 more catches though. 200 less yards. He is. I think that production profile looks like more of a big play guy than you're going to get here. Mm-hmm. This is, to me, whereas those other two guys might have that sort of that big play DK explosion stuff. This to me profiles more as a big possession guy. He uses his body really well. He boxes out. He wins on slants and digs. He's really good working zones. He makes himself an outlet when the quarterback has to move. He makes himself an outlet when the quarterback has to go to his fourth read. And he's like a smart player. He's gonna do well. He does not do well with press man coverage for a big guy. He does not get much separation. He does not track downfield balls well. I don't like how he loses the ball over his shoulder a lot.
Yeah, that's bad. Yep.
And he really struggles with rack. This is the anti-rack guy.
Catch it and fall down guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he falls forward at least. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't play big and he doesn't bully people.
Mm-hmm.
He's a plus size receiver who's going to make his living moving chains. Maybe as an eventual starter. I think the ceiling is Alan Lazard, and the median outcome is like a big slot like Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
But definitely, look, Alan Lazard is a major contributor in this league, right? So you're still in the tier of guys who have a pretty good shot to be useful for your fantasy roster.
Yeah, it could develop into a starter for you. Probably worth a taxi spot or worth a roster spot, worth the pick you'd probably spend on him. Potentially. We'll see where he lands.
Absolutely.
Next guy up, Tyler Scott, junior from Cincinnati, 5'10", 177 pounds, ran a 4.44 40-yard dash. Tyler Scott.
Yeah, so his best season was as a junior. He had a pretty good season as a sophomore too, when Cincinnati had that big year with Desmond Ritter. But as a junior, he was 54 for 899 and 9 touchdowns,
Mhm.
16.6 per reception. Um, Look, the pros here is this is another home run hitter, and he runs a particularly good post route. Like he really puts the foot in the ground and can does a good job getting the defender to open up his hips to the sideline, and then he beats him inside to the post.
Yeah.
You see that on tape like pretty repeatedly. Good run after catch, and he is a hands catcher away from the body. Like all of those things. Um, but this is another tiny guy. This is a sub 180 guy, and he plays small. So and for a guy who plays small, he has a mediocre production profile and minimal slot experience. So ceiling, but a lot of reason to think he busts too. Um, the reason I have him in this tier and not a little lower is because I think the buzz around his draft capital is good.
Yeah.
There are some similarities to Golden Tate in his game, so I have that as the ceiling. I think a median outcome here is like a rotational wide receivers 3 slot guy like Scotty Miller.
And none too exciting as we move down the list here. But Tyler Scott's a guy who produced in college, and we're just going to see what he does. I don't know how many shares I'm going to have. It'll all depend on capital and all that good
Capital,
stuff.
follow the capital.
Follow capital. Keep saying it. Love
right.
It.
And that's
so
why
important.
we go through more names, because if you've got your rookie draft starting on the Sunday, you've got to have a base of these names to be able to follow the capital, to know who you're looking at.
Yes, sir. All right. Last guy we want to talk about today is Mr. Xavier Hutchinson, the senior from Iowa State, 6'2", 203 pounds. Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah, he ran a 4.53 40, so he's not slow. He had 3 big seasons. His senior year this year, it was 107 catches for 1,171 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 10-9. This is a guy with a huge receiving market share. This is a guy who, for 3 years, was super productive. He might have the best just total production in the of anybody in this class. Incredibly productive, very versatile. Can be a big slot, can play outside, has tremendous hands, runs very good routes, and has had some contested catch success. He's kind of slow, not explosive, not quick. He's not a threat downfield, and he doesn't generate a lot of separation through quick movements. He just sort of is good at the job. You know what I mean? I think the ceiling here is he's a Tyler Boyd type.
Love that, yeah.
The median outcome is more like Justin Watson, a big third receiver, fourth receiver. I think that's your middle outcome. I mean, but these are guys. That's a middle outcome for a guy you take in your third round of your rookie draft, right? Yeah. But I think Tyler Boyd as a ceiling play here really makes a lot of sense. And he's going to stick around the league because he's going to be at least okay-ish, right? Yep. He's going to be at least, if some injuries happen, you can put him out there and he's not going to kill you. So I like that.
He seems like someone who, if he lands, could give him a year or two. He might be someone who is really quiet his first 2 seasons, then all of a sudden breaks out into a wide receiver 20 overall season or something. Really pops once he's had some NFL what's the word? NFL experience to him.
Yes. Yeah. I can see him also being like productive for fantasy if he ends up as I can see him ending up as the wide receiver 1 on a really bad team.
Yep. This is the wide receiver I like out of this tier. So that's the wide receiver 4 tier 4 of receivers. Yeah, Booty, Palmer, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Jordan Reed. Is it Jordan Reed? Jaden Reed, excuse me. Andre Yoshivas, A.T. Perry, Tyler Scott, Xavier Hutchinson. Real quick, out of all 8 of these guys we talked about today, let's pretend everything goes fantastically perfect for all of them. They all get the best landing spot. They all hit their ceilings. Who is, like I said, assuming ideal conditions, who hits the hardest out of this whole 8-man tier?
I think Boutte, and that's why he's up at the top, is like the ceiling. I think he has just about the best bust chance of all of these guys.
Sure.
But like, I think the ceiling with Boutte is that he's better than Smith and Jigba, right? Like the ceiling is infinite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because you just every once in a while his good snaps look like Antonio Brown,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Like
That
I
makes sense.
just
Yeah.
is a lot. Um, I think, but like I'm super skeptical of him,
Okay.
and like I don't think he's going to get the great draft cap.
Okay.
I think he's going to. Like he also has the best chance of going undrafted out of this whole group.
So, in terms of just ceiling alone, Booty looks like he's got the highest ceiling among all these guys. If we're only
Yeah.
talking about perfect conditions, now who would you say is the safest guy among these 8? The
Uh,
absolute safest.
I think
For fantasy purposes, to produce for your full PPR leagues.
maybe Jaden Reed.
Yeah,
I think Jaden Reed
that's what I was thinking too.
is going to have a role, right? Like
Mhm.
the floor is kind of slot machiney,
Yep.
you know. Well, no, the floor is he can't play. The like a real likely outcome is that he is a productive slot, and then there's better than that, in there. And then I think for me, the two guys, the three guys who balance like ceiling with some
Safety,
floor, like
yeah.
to me, the who I and like um good value for draft capital are going to be Palmer, Ford Wheaton, and Yoshivas. Those are the three that are very exciting to me.
Yeah, yep. I agree with you. I want those freak athletes with big time RAS scores and stuff like that. That's what I'm going to be looking for also. But yeah, man, that's the wide receivers. The middle tier, we're going to be coming back at you with another video. Keep an eye out for that with the remaining wide receivers on the list here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Leave a comment. Let me know who you like out of tier 4 of the wide receivers. Maybe there's someone in there who you don't think should belong. Who do you expect to have a lot of capital for? Where do you want to see these guys land? I love talking about this stuff. Greg does too. That's Velociraptor in the DMs. And then what's your Twitter handle, brother?
At FF Dynasty DGen.
At FF Dynasty DGen. Hit up Greg on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We're going to be coming at you with the, like I said, the wide receivers, and then we'll be hitting the tight ends after this. As we sit here today, it is 22 days until the NFL draft. So sit tight, ladies and gentlemen. Is it 22 days? It's less than that.
No, it's way less than that.
No, it's way less than that. Yeah, it's the 28th. So it's 17 days. Or it's a Thursday. It's 16 days. 27 days. 16 days. All right. Sorry about that. But thank you so much for joining us. Have a good one. See you later.